So has any of you ever had that oh shoot moment where you reach for your phone in your pocket but it's not there? You have that mini heart attack and then you realize that it was actually in your other hand the entire time. This happens to me where I'll freak out and start looking for it, only to realize that it was in my hand the entire time. The thing is though that I can look anywhere I want, but unless I look for what's in my hands, I'm not going to find it. This is the situation that Moses is in Exodus chapter 4. With only his staff in hand, he is coming to God, asking for a way to prove to the Pharaoh and to the Israelites that he is truly sent by him. In verse 1, Moses asks God, what if they do not believe me or listen to me? God responds in verse 2, what is that in your hand? Now I love when God asks questions because he knows everything. So when God was asking Moses what was in his hand, it wasn't because God needed to know. It was because Moses needed to know. Moses was coming to God looking for answers where God had already given him one. Moses was just looking in the wrong place. My first point is that we need to look for what God has placed in our hands. Yeah. Like Moses, we need to be reminded that God has prepared us with what we have. When Moses first met God at the burning bush, God didn't give anything to Moses that he didn't have before. God just told him to go. And even though Moses doubted himself, God had prepared him to fulfill his purpose. Now his purpose was to deliver the Israelites. And we can read how Moses was still unsure of God's call later in Scripture. In verse 10, Moses states his reservations to the Lord, saying, O Lord, I have never been eloquent, neither in the past, nor since you have spoken to your servant. I am slow of speech and tongue. Moses thought that his weakness disqualified him from his purpose. But his weakness didn't disqualify him. He did. My second point is that we cannot let our weakness become an excuse to action. While God was looking for action, Moses responded with excuses. But God knows what our weakness is because he created us. So when he calls us to do something, it's because he knows that we are capable. But Moses still thought that he needed to change in order to fulfill his purpose. But he didn't change because he was already prepared. This is a place I've gotten stuck in where I'll come to God asking for a specific thing over and over again where nothing will change. I'll continually pray for strength or patience or purity. When I'm done with the prayer, I won't feel any different. I'll even come to God and ask him, why haven't you given me these things? The Bible says that if I ask, you will give. And I've been asking, but I haven't been receiving. But it wasn't that God wasn't listening or didn't give me what I needed. It's that he already had. 2 Peter 1:3 reads that his divine power has given us everything we need for life and godliness through our knowledge of him. What I didn't realize is that as soon as I knew God, I was prepared. It is simply by knowing God that we are prepared and equipped for the works that he has for us. Now this verse does not say that he will give us everything or anything we want. Instead, he'll give us what we need. And those two can be confused. To Moses, he was unprepared for the call, and he was telling God what he needed. But that's backwards. See, and to some of us, it might feel like the same. It might feel like we need a skill or a talent or a resource. But if you know God, then you have everything you need.
It's good.
So while we have everything we need, we still need to recognize it and use it. God never says it'll be easy, and that's what I wanted. I wanted to just snap my fingers and God to fix all my problems. So I would keep falling to the same sin and the same temptation over and over again. And instead of taking action, I'd blame it on God not giving me what I needed. Instead of taking action, I just pray about it more. I'd get on my knees and beg God for help. But that didn't work. It's not that prayer is the wrong thing to do. It's that prayer isn't the only thing to do. There's still a decision for you to make and carry out when you say amen. So for a while, I thought I was stuck in this sin. I thought I was stuck in this action, and that would be something I just had to live with and hide because it was hard not to give in. I thought it was just part of being a boy, and that was when I let my weakness become my excuse. But God had already prepared me. As soon as I knew God, he had given me what I needed. So I looked at what God had put into my hands and realized that he had given me the ability to live pure. And all I was waiting on was for me to realize it and act upon it. I decided that I wouldn't succumb to temptations that God had prepared me to face. I didn't feel any different. I didn't have this resounding revelation or that light bulb going in my head. But then again, how could it? How can I expect something to change, expect something to feel different if I keep praying for what God has already given me? So I want you to think about God's question to Moses in Exodus chapter 4. I want you to answer, what is that in your hand? What have you been looking for that God has already given you? We can't wait for the change. We have to be the change. Because if God supplies but we don't decide, what God has supplied is useless. So I ask you, will you decide to use what's in your hand? He's waiting.